Digitally accessible. Digital accessibility simplified.
Perfect. Phil, Ben, all yours.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody. As Juan mentioned, my name is Phil Yatvin. I'm Senior Director of Business Development at the Chicago Lighthouse. And with me today, I have my friend and coworker, Mr. Ben Chargot, who is our project coordinator for our digital accessible experience team. And we'll dive into what that actually is. And our session today is called Inclusive Design: Why Utilizing Users with Disabilities Creates Better Digital Experiences. Let me share my screen. I just want to share that I'm very excited to be here. Thank you, Digitally Accessible. We've had some great conversations in the past, so being able to take part in this conversation and be part of GAD, Ben and I are extremely excited about. And then getting to follow the Janice Assumption, one of the founders of GAD itself, is quite the honor and very exciting. Okay, so if Digitally can stop sharing that screen for a second, I'll be able to share mine. Thank you. All right, wonderful. Okay. All right. So I just want to give a little introduction to who Ben and I are, and oh, that's one too many. Where we come from that gives us any knowledge on what we're speaking about, which is inclusive design and utilizing users with disabilities. Ben and I work at an organization called the Chicago Lighthouse. The Lighthouse is a 116-year-old nonprofit agency located in the heart of the city of Chicago. We have about 40 programs that are all meant to help empower the lives of individuals who are blind, visually impaired, disabled, and veterans. And we do this through a range of different categories: education, employment, low vision rehabilitation, assistive technology, independent living, and social enterprise. Our social enterprise is a very unique combination of both mission and business, where we create career pathways and employment opportunities for professionals of our mission in revenue generating businesses that then help fund all the very cool social service things that we do, such as our children's education center, our low vision clinics. We have a range of different social enterprises. We have a 50-year-old assembly plant that makes every wall clock for the United States federal government since 1977. We have a plant that has about 40 employees, 85% of which are legally blind. We run a range of call centers that do medical scheduling for a number of healthcare institutions in Illinois and neighboring states. We also do the Illinois Tollway and have a partnership with them, as well as some other clinics. And then Ben and I work in our Digital Accessible Experience Consulting Group. And our DAX for short group helps partners and clients make sure that they are creating and managing inclusive digital environments, whether that be websites, mobile apps, platforms. We want to make sure that they are inclusive, which in our opinion means they are both accessible and usable by users with disabilities. And the majority of our team, our DAX team, are certified CPACC, certified professionals in accessibility core competencies by the IAAP, the International Association of Accessibility Professionals. And 97% of our team are also native accessibility or native assistive technology users. So either screen reader users, screen magnification users. So I do want to introduce Ben real quick before we dive more into the topic.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the introduction, and thanks for being here. This is also our first event of the day, so we're very excited. We got a couple more coming up this afternoon, and but this, what a good way to kick things off. As Phil said, I'm Ben Chargot, the project coordinator here for our DAX department, and I'm basically responsible for making sure that things are delivered on time to clients, that we allocate our resources properly, as well as kind of giving the final look over our documents, our issue sheets. We write VPATs for a few clients. I mainly write those, and a lot of our client-facing documents. I've also got the experience of doing some testing of my own, just so I know where our testers are coming from, language and process wise, and I've been with the Lighthouse since June of 2019.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben.
Mhm.
So while obviously it is Global Accessibility Awareness Day, one of the things that especially our DAX team, but I think all accessibility professionals that I've met across the globe, and that's been one of my favorite parts of the accessibility industry, is I've never been in another industry where people are so open to collaboration, whether you're in a competing organization, but just anyone who's in the accessibility industry, please try to reach out and network with as many people as possible, because it's truly valuable. But accessibility is just part of the puzzle, and part of what organizations like Digitally and the Chicago Lighthouse want people to be more aware about. It's really digital inclusion is the focus, and accessibility is part of digital inclusion. Accessibility is a tool really, and digital inclusion is more of the goal. So accessibility is guidelines and it's compliance, whether it is the WCAG, which is recognized more globally, or Section 508, which is a federal United States federal compliance. You know, when it comes to accessibility, can someone access, someone with a disability or assistive tech user access your web platform, your website? There's compliance and standards and somewhat of a checklist sometimes with accessibility is, well, can it be accessed or not? I also want to throw out that obviously accessibility is not only related to people with disabilities. Accessibility can mean a lot of things for a lot of different groups, but obviously the focus of our conversation today is on people with disabilities. But for digital inclusion, accessibility is just part of the puzzle. Can someone access it? But it's not only about access. Inclusion means that someone with a disability, someone that's an assistive tech user, can also have a positive experience, that they can use a website or mobile app in a streamlined way to complete their goal or the purpose of the website, whether that be buying a product or collaboration. And at the end of the day, that's really what digital inclusion should be able to provide, is a space where anyone with any kind of disability or ability can collaborate with each other, regardless of if they're a screen reader user or a switch user, or don't use any assistive technology at all. And that's one of my favorite things personally about our DAX team. My ability to collaborate with different individuals, some of which are screen reader users, and utilize inclusive and accessible tools and be able to run meetings like this or do these really large projects or really large clients. Being able to collaborate is key to that digital inclusion. And it's also really important to break out accessibility and usability, because while you will see all kinds of organizations and software and overlay plugins flood the accessibility market right now as DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives have grown and social impact has grown and become more important, there's all these organizations flooding the market with different software and whatnot. And some of it is absolutely great. And, you know, some of it can help do some accessibility compliance checks and do some automated quick scans of a lot of pages, but there is no AI at the moment, nor do I think there ever necessarily will be an AI that can really share what the user experience of a real user with a disability that uses either does use assistive tech or doesn't use assistive tech, such as cognitive disabilities, anyone on the autism spectrum or dyslexia or disabilities like that might not use assistive tech. There's no AI that can scan a page and be like, oh, well, this is going to create a streamlined experience. So usability is critical. And the only way to test usability right now is with real user testing of someone who does utilize assistive technology. And we've run into a lot of situations where we will meet organizations that, oh yeah, we did check with a screen reader. Not a screen reader user, we had someone who is sighted utilize a screen reader and go through and see what that experience would be like. But we've learned that the output that someone who is a sighted screen reader user does not match typically what the output and results will be of an individual who is a blind screen reader user. Ben, can you share your thoughts as a screen reader user on some of the things we've experienced between accessibility and usability?
Sure. And you're absolutely correct that that the experience between just using the screen with a mouse as you would as a visual user while having a screen reader like JAWS or NVDA activated is a lot different from the experience of a user who is blind or vision impaired navigating, just because the styles are so different. For example, the typical computer jargon would say, click on this item, or, scroll to the, the 3-bar icon or something like that, which really means nothing to a screen reader user. As, in reverse, saying something like, most of the time we're navigating with arrow keys and the tab key is primarily keyboard navigation. So saying something like, arrow down to the shopping cart link, it may not appear visually as that. It may be an icon of a shopping cart or something like that. But it's really the difficulty comes in, communicating between between the screen reader user and the visual user, trying to explain the problem you're having. In our testing process, we've implemented a lot of videos. That way the client can see what's happening visually, but also hear what's happening from the screen reader and from a native user operating it. And it's even some of the language that has to be, when we're writing steps for testing, for example, we're very careful to use non-leading language, saying, navigate to this or that link and activate it, instead of saying scroll and click, or use your arrow keys and press enter, which is the return key. And really just making sure that the language can be used by all testers and could be understood by the client who's reading it as well, or the partner, as we call them, who's definitely not, or who may not be a native screen reader user. So the language and the communication is very important, as well as demonstrating the issue from a few different standpoints.
Wonderful, thank you, Ben.
Mm-hmm. And just as Phil was saying, that the two sides, accessibility and usability, whereas accessibility can be tested by both automated and manual testing, usability really is only testable by manual testing of people who use the products.
Awesome. So I'm actually giving a whole nother GAD presentation today on the reasons why organizations and businesses should prioritize digital inclusion and focus on accessibility best practice. What is the ROI, or return on investment, of focusing on these opportunities to be more inclusive? Obviously, yes, it's great for the community. It's a great social goal to be more inclusive, but there are also a lot of very tangible business benefits to being more inclusive. And I won't dive into what all of those are and some of that data. But from the highest level, some of the main reasons why it's important to be more inclusive digitally are all reasons also why more users with disabilities need to be involved in the process. And through digital inclusion, organizations have the ability to reach more customers, substantial larger group of customers. There's a lot of research that has come out that more inclusive work environments do have positive bottom line benefits. There's increase in productivity, there's increased innovation. And that's one of the things we've learned firsthand at the Chicago Lighthouse. As I said, we have, not only do we have all these social service programs and the backup departments to run programs like that, such as HR, accounting, IT, but within all of our social enterprises, we are extremely integrated. And we've learned a lot about just accessibility and digital inclusion through making more of our enterprises as inclusive as possible. And I think Ben's a great example of that. And that's, a great inclusive design project we actually worked on at the Lighthouse was one of our call centers. Actually, you could only, if you were a screen reader user, you were only able to do general information calls at one of our call centers. These were entry-level roles, not challenging, and would not provide upward mobility in your job because you could not then move to a medical scheduler or a team lead or a supervisor within our medical scheduling call center. So it was great from the Lighthouse perspective that we were able to offer jobs to a population that typically finds barriers to employment, but we didn't want to just be able to offer jobs. We wanted to be able to offer careers. And we partnered with an EMR platform to help create a more accessible, inclusive platform, working side by side with them, that then would allow for agents to move up the chain. And Ben, you were actually in part of this project itself before you were with Dax from the call center perspective.
Absolutely.
Can you share just what that project meant to you by seeing an organization, not just the Lighthouse, but organizations that we partnered with, focus on digital inclusion in a way that it could increase employment of their call center that was subcontracted to us, in a way where they saw the potential and the opportunity to create a more inclusive environment and what that would mean for their business?
Gladly. So yeah, I was actually a part of it from working in that call center as a general information agent, as Phil said, which was a kind of a one-dimensional job with a lot of transferring calls and not really being able to do anything besides provide information. I was part of the kind of the beta test, if you will, for the new scheduling software, and they had company representatives there, kind of having us do they called it the playground, which was kind of a testing environment that we could operate in and navigate in. They had the developers walking around kind of saying, let's try to add someone's insurance, to try to book them an orthopedics appointment, things like that. And just trying to see how streamlined the process was already and what they still needed to work on. I really feel like my colleagues and I were able to give some valuable feedback. Again, the necessity of having native screen reader users test the product. And I really think they took our feedback, to heart and made the changes that were necessary to push it through, so that when it was rolled out to all the employees, it was a pretty streamlined product that was ready to go. Training was simplified, and I know I personally took to it pretty quickly because of that. There were a lot of key shortcuts that made things easier, and I had recently moved up to team lead there, and it definitely made that position easier as well. I was able to check things that I wasn't able to before, was able to, to schedule appointments, solve problems for patients with the CRM software that was built in, which is a way of messaging clinics and things on the behalf of patients. And also, we was able to train my coworkers, my team members on that too, answer questions, assist them through JAWS Tandem even. And it really, none of that really would have been possible without it, and neither would the growth. When I did get hired and transferred over to Dax, I was also interviewing for the supervisor position there, and ended up deciding this was a better fit, and I'm sure glad I came. But just having that opportunity, that wouldn't have been there otherwise. So yeah, it was an excellent experience, and it was possible because of the accessibility and usability testing on the front side, and possible because of the company taking our feedback and running with it.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben. And I'm certainly glad you made that decision as well to come join our team. But besides reaching more customers, creating more productive, inclusive work environments and culture, there's certainly positive brand image and marketing that comes along with being more inclusive. And the elephant in the room is the legal side. There are certainly probably going to be plenty of GAD sessions today, really just focused on accessibility compliance in the legal landscape. And I know depending on where you are in the world, it's very different, and the government and federal side of things will probably look at accessibility very differently. even in the US, I would say it's lagging behind. They do focus on federal websites, have a little more strict guidelines, but even enforcement of it is still behind. But the growth in accessibility lawsuits in the US has skyrocketed year over year the last 4 years. And the pandemic really did focus a lot of the world on the virtual environment and how inaccessible it truly is. So being more inclusive and focusing on inclusive design when you're building a product will really help minimize legal risks. And if you look at all 4 of these reasons why to prioritize digital inclusion, it makes a whole lot of sense why real users and real people with disabilities need to be involved in your process, because it will really benefit all of these benefits of digital inclusion.
Not to mention that it looks very bad if you claim your site is accessible and then it doesn't turn out to be.
Exactly. So
back to the brand image.
So inclusive design can mean a lot of things. It's also, the term accessible design is used a lot, universal design. A lot of these things can mean a lot of different things, and depending on where you are in the country or where you are in the world, about what that design looks like. When we talk about inclusive design from DAX's perspective, and from our team's perspective, it is how to utilize users with disabilities, and in our case, they're professionals. They're accessibility professionals with disabilities within the process, within all the way from kind of planning and design through development, launch, and maintenance, that it is critical to have real users part of that process. So why is that important? What are the benefits of that, at least? And there's a lot of research that has come out that said, when you're utilizing an inclusive design strategy, and especially bringing in users with disabilities along the way, you save significant time in any remediation that you might have to do. Say you launch a website and you've done no accessibility best practice whatsoever, and you get a complaint letter or a lawsuit. That takes a lot more time to go back and try and create a more inclusive environment, whether that's going through original programming code. Maybe you're using features or concepts that already go against kind of accessibility best practices. Your website is loaded with carousels that can't pause, and that's, or you have an extremely interactive map of some sort that took a long time just to build out, but you didn't think about accessibility along the way. You almost have to go back to the drawing board if you haven't built in best practices along the way. Related to time is also money. Having to go back and build in and implement accessibility and usability best practices costs money. Whether that means your full-time staff of engineers needs to go back and utilize unscheduled time to go build things in, whether that means you don't have those skills internally and you need to go out and hire accessibility professionals to come in and help make your website or mobile app or platform more accessible. That's a huge cost as well. There's data out there that suggests that when you're building accessibility and usability inclusive best practices onto your original costs, it costs about 1% to 3% more to make sure that inclusion is built along the way. When you've fully built your product and have to go back, it's almost 10 to 15% more cost just to go back and then remediate your own website. We're not even talking about the potential lawsuit costs if you do have an issue within your website and a claim is filed, a lawsuit is filed against you. Add just the legal costs on top of all the remediation costs, when you could have taken advantage of all the benefits of digital inclusion and built it the right way. Learning, I think, by far is the biggest benefit of real inclusive design, because there's so much that can be learned from interaction and collaboration with real users with disabilities, with real assistive tech users that have understood the intricacies of different assistive technology, NVDA, JAWS, Zoom Text, Zoom, switches, you name it. There's a lot that goes in within using these devices. and best practices there as well. That takes, utilizing someone who has lived their life using these devices in their professional and personal lives will be able to provide extra input. And that learning that a team can get through that interaction helps in a couple ways. You learn some best practices potentially from real users. You learn more empathy, and you can gain more empathy and understanding of, okay, well, now I'm starting to learn how someone who's a screen reader user that is blind navigates through a website. That really will then help that person understand how to better build in heading structures, how to use labels, or structure things differently in a way that just kind of reading something and say, oh, heading structure is important, great, this is what I should do. Really seeing someone utilize a screen reader to tab through headings helps build in that empathy and those skill set that then allows for sustainable digital inclusion, so that when either someone that is on your internal team or that person moves or goes somewhere else, that the team has those skills, so that if there's innovations to the website or there's updates or a new rollout feature, you're already starting to think about some of these things in a way that you hadn't before. And Ben, as someone who obviously is a screen reader user yourself, but has worked on some of the inclusive design projects we've had, I mean, can you share what some of our partners have said about learning from the experience of either collaborating and screen sharing with yourself or with one of our teammates, or some of the videos we share that really show what that experience is like?
Mm-hmm. I mean, without mentioning any names specifically, we've had clients and partners who were, like Phil mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, who were using screen readers, but with sighted users, just listening to them as they navigated the page. And they were shocked to, to hear the difference and to see the difference in the videos that we provided, based off of the verbal responses, as well as the visual responses. Just seeing it from the side of a native user navigating, it's an entirely different experience, and you can see that on the page as the cursor moves and everything too. So it's really it is a different experience. We've had people completely kind of turn the way around that they've been approaching accessibility. We've had partners who we send our issue sheet, they have a question about an unlabeled button that we found, and really the only way to explain it is by demonstrating. So we've had a lot of experiences like that where demonstrating where they can hear the voice and see what's happening visually on screen as well is really the only way to get the point across, because the experience is different.
Great, thanks, Ben. So I think what Ben really brought some focus to, and I've already shared, is the real user of disabilities within the inclusive design process are critical for many reasons. And it is, as I shared, that understanding of assistive technology, that having that lived experience of dealing with mainly inaccessible websites and platforms for quite some time, really can lend itself to teams to better understand why it's important that carousels have the ability to be paused. Why, when you just make your website as flashy as possible, there are drawbacks to that. It's not all just let's be flashy. But that valuable feedback is important, because there's also a lot of examples out there where items and concepts that were originally created for inclusion and to be focused on people with disabilities actually were a positive component that everyone used, whether that be zooming in, or the ability to turn dark mode on, or some of these other items that have really are now mainstream, were originally developed as inclusion practices. And it's not only important, and I want to stress this because our team is certified accessibility professionals, so some of that feedback we do give organizations is great, because we do have real native assistive tech users. But it's also important that within the inclusive design process, you can share, and get feedback from users that don't necessarily have tech degrees or an accessibility certification, because at the same time, our guys know a lot of the workarounds and know how to utilize assistive tech in a different way. So it's also very important just to, be able to get feedback from Sue, who's actually a soccer mom and has dyslexia, not a certified accessibility professional. So I do want to make sure that is understood as well. Yes, I think having certified professionals in accessibility that are also professionals with disabilities does help tremendously, but it's important to really get as much feedback as possible. Involving real users as well allows for the best practices of assistive tech, which is constantly changing. Accessibility and usability is constantly evolving. Innovations are always coming out. Just within the last week, Microsoft and Apple released updates to some of their both software and hardware to be more inclusive. Real users are typically ahead of the curve when it comes to utilizing, updates to JAWS or new tools that come out there, where development teams, engineers that aren't necessarily focused on accessibility might not be as up to date. They're doing a quick Google search on, okay, like how does JAWS interact with this type of platform, and then utilizing that. Well, even if that article is 3 months old, that information might not be relevant anymore. So involving real users allows you to stay up to date, especially on assistive technology. So within inclusive design, where should users with disabilities be involved? And it's everywhere. It is all the way from the planning stage. And, we want to build a website with the purpose of doing this. We want to build a mobile app that will allow the consumer to do this. Involve a person with disability, and there's a range there. Obviously, don't just go out and find a screen reader user or someone who's deaf and hard of hearing. There are a lot of disabilities, both visible and invisible disabilities, that need to be considered when developing products, and this should be brought into the planning stage if you especially want to be inclusive. Moving into the design phase, even when it comes to wireframing, and if anyone has found a very good wireframe design software that is totally accessible, please let us know, because we are testing several of them and trying to work with several partners who have really good processes of inclusive design, and we have not found a wireframe design software that we truly love yet. So that would be great if anyone across the world has found one. But even within design, having someone on our team go through wireframes with a member of the design team to understand what concepts they want to share, what features might be involved, what is the type of content that will be necessary, because you already can start to build in accessibility best practices within design, making sure that, okay, well, if this is the flow of your content, what is your heading structure going to look like? Boom, you can already take that into consideration. We've gone through and someone's wireframes and like, okay, well, put it, please label the heading structure. And we'll see heading level 1, heading level 2, heading level 5. And we're like, okay, well, even visually, how do you go from 1 to 5? That doesn't make a lot of sense. So how can you start to build things out just within wireframes in terms of what type of inclusion needs to be built in, so that all these things that we would then test or users would then go through the experience can be built in from the beginning. That means that it doesn't have to go to development and have someone test the product, which is the next stage, that someone's going to test it, to find out, oh, well, heading structure, which is not overly complicated, still you need to go back and focus on this. Or, alt text, very easy when it, already in wireframing. Yeah, you might not exactly know what the text you want to be involved in yet, but if you know that you're going to have an image or something on a page, you need to make sure already and note that alt text needs to be here. And can it just be marked as decorative? Is it just supposed to be an image that is nice to see visually, or is it actually going to be important throughout the process? So users are involved everywhere. Development, going from prototyping to a most valuable prototype, how to involve users at each stage. You know, the level that users need to be involved can be dependent on how, you know, complex your website or mobile app is. You know, and then as you start to build in more practices and go along the development life cycle, you can start to test with more environments. Test with, you know, we do environments by a browser, operating system, and assistive tech. So JAWS on Google Chrome on Windows is an example of one. You know, and throughout development, maybe in the first prototype, you're only testing one screen reader and a screen magnification switch, just to kind of get the low-hanging fruit. You know, and there's obviously automated testing that can go throughout this as well, especially development, to hit some of that low-hanging accessibility issues, and then you can bring in users on top of that. Obviously, right before launch, you want to make sure that you're testing in more environments to make sure that you are going to cover as broad a base as possible, because there are so many different assistive technologies and software, hardware out there that people might use to access your website or mobile app. And then maintenance as well, after launch, continuously validating anything you fix with users of assistive tech will be important and critical. Ben, do you have anything to add on just the process and things you've experienced as our project coordinator for building in inclusion throughout the process?
Just that we've seen time and time again how that saves money and saves time to do it from the start. Most of our projects, unfortunately, are, you know, sort of what you might call bolting on or remediation of a website once it's been built and has issues. And we're of course more than happy to do that as well. But yeah, it usually building it in from the start, it saves the partners time and money, and it helps them understand, as Phil mentioned earlier, it really helps understand accessibility and usability on a deeper level that can be applied by the tech team throughout the process then. So even when we're not involved anymore, if that's the case, you know, they still have ongoing knowledge of it, have a deeper understanding, as well as you were mentioning again, the sort of the automated testing and catching the low hanging fruit that way. And that's absolutely a process that we use still, and that, you know, can even be useful for pointing out what pages might need some heavier manual testing, or what might need to be focused on more heavily than other pages or issues. But also the example we always use of why you can't just have automated testing is that finding alt text issues. There could be alt text on an image, but it could literally just say alt text. And most of those things only scan for that sort of thing, whereas usability and manual testing would actually catch that that the text is not descriptive or doesn't actually go with the image.
Thank you, Ben. All right. Well, just want to thank everyone for their time and taking time out of their schedule today to grow their awareness for global accessibility. It is extremely important. You know, learn something new today about it. I'm excited to hop on other sessions and learn as much as I can. There's so many great experts sharing a wealth of knowledge today. And I once again want to thank, you know, Digitally Accessible for having us here and being a great collaborator for quite some time now, and then looking forward to where that collaboration and inclusive design can take us next.
Absolutely.
Phil and Ben, thank you so much. Again, we are very pleased for you to be part of our event. And again, like, we're looking forward to even more collaboration in the future.
Thanks,
now, I want to maybe take like 5 minutes for some Q&A. Sanjay or Anna, if there are any questions, can you please help us with them?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a question from one of the attendees that says, question for Phil and Ben, what browsers and assistive tech do you test with?
I mean, a very wide range. Some of the standards are NVDA with Chrome, JAWS with Chrome. Those two screen readers also with Firefox. We do Mac testing with VoiceOver and Chrome. We do Chrome Vox and Chrome on a Chromebook. Use Zoom Text, a lot of the internal magnification software as well. And on top of that, we have employees with cognitive disabilities that also do that sort of testing as well, make sure it's understandable and streamlined. But as far as the environments go, that's basically it. It's Windows, Mac, and Chrome OS. We also do mobile testing. It's not as in demand, but we're hoping that changes as well, because it's a huge industry. But so we also do mobile testing for iOS and Android using those built-in screen readers.
We've also tested different speech to text software, drag and dictate, a couple of the internal software that Windows and Mac has as well, to do some more of that. We've done the keyboard testing, switch testing. So a little bit all over when it comes to assistive tech and browsers. And then because of the Lighthouse, we also have an assistive tech center attached to our low vision clinic. So we also do a lot of piloting of new assistive technology coming out. Most of that is more on the wearables navigation area. So we test some of that and how that integrates with different apps, but not necessarily how that integrates with other browsers and whatnot. Yeah.
And also Braille displays and that kind of functionality as well. But in the end, it's up to the partner. And if they ask for a specific environment or combination, we're more than happy to oblige.
Thank you. Anna, is there any more questions?
Yeah, that leads us to a next question. So thank you for that very bountiful answer. A good follow-up that we can see here is how have you seen the accessibility field change in the last 5 years? And where might you see it going in the next 5 years? So what has happened as a shift, and where do you see it going?
Well, I'll have Ben and I probably answer that from two very different spots. So I'll let Ben go with that one first.
In the last 5 years, I've seen it change. I mean, whether or not anything's being done about it, there is at least is more awareness of it, and more focus on that being something that needs to happen. And even all the automated AI sort of programs available are a testament to that. And whether they work or not is another question, but just much more awareness and from the empathy side, just kind of, and social media has really played a role in that too. Every company's worried about their brand image more on that side of things. And in the next 5 years, I see it going the same way, more awareness, more inclusion, but also a lot of, we're kind of on the cusp here of a lot more assistive tech being available, a lot more AI solutions, not in the accessibility testing world so much, but in products like the wearables that Phil had mentioned and things like that. I think we're going to see a lot more options in those, a lot of those don't have very good battery life at the moment. So I think as battery technology improves in general, we're going to see an improvement in those pieces of technology as well. Another thing that I am very excited about is the improvement in Braille display technology. Those are becoming more affordable, and there's a lot of products that are going beyond just displaying Braille as text, but actually being able to display graphics and and shift those pins around to make graphics and images instead of just text.
Then from the more of the business side, I think we're headed towards probably accessibility, digital inclusion renaissance of sorts. Awareness certainly has in the last 5 years grown significantly. Through that awareness, more research, more data has come out to support the importance of digital inclusion and accessibility. And well, obviously it's great to be aware that how real users utilize the internet and the web and mobile apps. Businesses are starting to see and become more aware of the importance of accessibility, and whether it's right or not, that will lead to more action. So when I look at the next 5 years, I'm hoping that we will go from just awareness spreading to real action. And you can start to see it a bit. You can see, last year, LinkedIn shared that there were 12,000 new jobs created with accessibility in the title. So there's a lot of organizations a little more focused now on how do we internally build it. And you can see the Fortune 100, Fortune 500, the globe, starting to invest in their own accessibility programs and teams, whether it be the Targets, the big banks, are starting to build their own internal accessibility programs because they know it's not going anywhere and they know it needs to be a focus. And after the biggest organizations start to do it, the medium-sized organizations will look and say, oh, this is also important. But as Ben and I know, the demand for accessibility professionals nowhere near meets the supply right now. So that will also help then increase accessibility education, and organizations focus on the training and certification and mentorship of accessibility professionals, which then is great for the community of professionals with disabilities, because this is a industry in which your experience as a native assistive tech user, or your own just lived experience, is a value add to this market and this industry. So I think the next 5 years in accessibility and digital inclusion is going to be very exciting. So yeah.
Excellent, Phil and Ben. Thank you so much for being part of this event. We really, really appreciate it. And then just before you go, if you maybe want to share to everybody how, if they want to reach out to you, where can they find you, how they can contact you?
Sure. We can be found, obviously our organization can be found at chicagolighthouse.org. Ben and I are both very active on LinkedIn at Phil Yatvin. I'm the only one in the world, so it's pretty easy to find. That's spelled Yatvin is my last name. And then Ben can be found on LinkedIn as well. Any of the questions, if we weren't able to answer any questions, please reach out to us via LinkedIn. That's probably easier than sharing our whole emails right now. But our emails are also our first name and last name at chicagolighthouse.org. We're probably easier to find on LinkedIn though, and we can go from there.
Yeah.
Once again, thank you, Juan, and then thank you, the digital team.
No, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.